morning, and welcome to another Bright News discussion. And today I have with me Barouk Gari. So, Barouk, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Shannon. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah,
Much
man.
appreciated.
Yeah. I'm glad to finally get you on here, brother. We've been working on this for some time now, but we finally got it on the way, right? So,
Yeah,
before we get really into, you know, talking about some really important topics, I want to maybe just get a little background on you, uh, to know, a little bit more about yourself and you know, your career and everything.
yeah. So I'm, you know, my name is Baruch, as you said. Um, Born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Mhm.
29 this year,
Okay.
and for work, I'm a manager, a country manager for a ride-hailing app.
Okay.
That's based in Nairobi, Kenya, but kind of uh, has regional offices around Africa.
Okay.
And but yeah, I went to school for political science
Mhm.
and business.
Okay.
Um, but, uh,
Okay.
but I grew up in a Christian family
Mhm.
and grew up in a kind of a strong, I'd say, Protestant family
Mhm.
in Ethiopia.
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I've always loved to read and explore ideas,
Right.
and so yeah, here we are.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I hear we have some things in common. We're both very interested in the work of Rene Girard. So I'll ask you, what got you into uh, the work of Rene Girard? What led you into that direction, or how did you find
Uh,
out about Rene Girard? I guess I should ask that.
yeah. So this friend of mine who was a theology student in college
Hmm.
introduced art to me in a time where I was really getting into philosophy.
Okay.
Um, this was around 2016.
Okay.
And I think a lot of curious men, especially, were
Hmm.
looking at that season, which was like Donald Trump running for office.
Yeah.
And it was such a um, bombastic character. I don't know
Hmm. Hmm.
way to say who Donald Trump is, but
Yeah.
he
Right.
kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he kind of pushed me uh, to kind of ask about what was real and what wasn't real.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was such a kind of it kind of forced you to be alive and like know what's going on in the world
Hmm.
and try to dig into what kind of ideas have um, been around, since uh, since thousands of years ago, let's just say. And it got me to be interested in philosophy. I started to read history of philosophy,
Hmm.
and it wasn't very. Like, I'm not saying it was like a scholarly pursuit.
Hmm.
Me, digging through Aristotle, Plato. It was a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of podcasts,
Hmm.
a lot of small maybe articles, Wikipedia, this and
Right.
that, and I've always
Yeah.
been super interested in all that. So it was
Right.
yeah, and so it was in that place where this friend of mine,
Hmm.
uh, who, like I said, was a theology student, and he just talks to me about Gerard,
Hmm.
and just it was maybe a conversation,
Hmm.
Maybe it was like a 5 minute conversation, a 10 minute conversation.
Hmm.
Um, Very provocative. I don't exactly remember what we talked about, but he introduced him to me,
Hmm.
and it was kind of like a blow. Like it was like a, what is that? What?
Yeah.
Uh, and there are a lot of ideas, I guess, sometimes that you I don't know how to say, like instinctually
Yeah.
just resonate with, and you can
Right.
feel, oh, that is real. Oh, that
Yes.
there's a lot of humor there,
Right.
because as you know, a lot of things, as Gerard even says, like we just coast through life in a lot of places. We really don't take time to uh, see what's around us, right?
Hmm.
A lot of it
Hmm.
is kind of surface level, um,
Right. Right.
things that we believe. So
Yes.
uh, some things kind of hit you out of left field, and you feel
Hmm.
like, man, that was real. There's
Right.
something real there.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
and it, took me down the rabbit hole, and yeah,
Yeah.
read both his books. I mean, at
Okay.
least I read the Goat and Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World.
Okay.
Uh,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Sorry if I'm going over. Maybe you want to jump in.
No, no,
Anything
no,
else?
no. It's perfectly fine, man. Because that's actually how I kind of, you know, I would say I sort of stumbled on Gerard too. Um, I was really interested in anthropology. Um, was reading a lot of books, concerning like cultural anthropology and stuff like that, and just really into like history and everything. And so I can remember my first encounter with reading some of Gerard's works. I always tell people, my favorite one is Violence and the Sacred. That was the one.
Mm,
That was the first one I read, right? And the whole idea of the scapegoat mechanism, and things of that nature. And so I really in the beginning, I wasn't, he was just one of the people that I was sort of reading about, you know just trying to figure out this whole idea of philosophy of anthropology, or anthropological philosophy, I guess, if you want to call it.
yeah.
And so it you know but I think one of the things that he answered for me was this whole thing about, like, you know uh, human sacrifice, you know uh sort of what our I guess our human ancestors would have engaged in order to keep society from collapsing, or a breakdown within a society. you know so yeah, I mean, I can attest to that. Like, it's sort of one of those things where it is, yeah, it is instinctual. You know it's like Gerard, he was one of these people that was like, to me, once you see it, you don't it's sort of hard to not see it anymore. You know what I mean? But it's always been there. So once you start listening to him, and then you're like, okay, let me go back and read the Gospels. Let me actually go back and read what the Gospels say, and then you're like, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense what he's saying. So yeah, I can attest to that. Um, but I wanna turn back to you know some things about the history, concerning Ethiopia, right? You know, Ethiopia is very rooted in, has a very, how should I put it, has a very rich, history, rich past, right? Um, Very rooted in sort of the biblical world. Um, there's even, you know, there's even biblical texts that mention Ethiopia, in the Old and New Testament. So I'm wondering here, like, how does you know Ethiopians take? I think that correct me if I'm wrong, but Ethiopians tend to take a lot of pride in the fact that they have sort of a deep rootedness in the biblical worldview and in the Judeo-Christian worldview and even in the Islamic world, right? So I'm just wondering like how that how do you see that? What's your take on that? Am I right about what I'm saying, or is that sort of
No,
yeah?
no, it's um. So let me let me um preface what I'm about to say with um I had a talk with David Gurski,
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I'd say my understanding of Girard wasn't as like I guess you need more literature around Girard to understand him, or maybe you need more experience, life experience, to really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a few years ago, and David asked me, why didn't Ethiopia have the same kind of Christian revolution that Europe saw?
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of going off of what kind of Girard says is the effect of Christianity, uh, which was like a technology, and you have um, the Holy Spirit kind of working slowly
Mm-hmm.
inside that society, and then after a while, it kind of marinates,
Mm-hmm.
and you have this powerful force um, spreading throughout uh, maybe the interactions and the individuals and the
Mm-hmm.
culture to have an effect on violence
Mm-hmm.
and science,
Mm-hmm.
and all these things that kind of in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Ethiopia is it was such a big question for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to understand that too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because you read Gerard as an Ethiopian,
Mm-hmm.
and the first question that comes to your mind is, hey, why didn't that work in Ethiopia?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a unique case
Yeah.
here, because Ethiopia was a Christian state before the Holy Roman Empire, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the earliest Christian nations,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how to answer that. It was such a big question for me back then, and I couldn't
Yeah.
answer it back then, and I don't think I can now.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
it's such a unique, um, interesting case, especially when you kind of compare it with art, because now you're not looking at like large swaths of evidence of the Christian Revolution, but
Mm-hmm.
you need kind of a magnifying glass
Mm-hmm.
to look at all the small details that
Mm-hmm.
Christianity has affected in this nation,
Mm-hmm.
and and there are a lot, honestly. Um, Ethiopia is kind of it's a tragic nation
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um, it's a
And,
lot
and-
of its mistakes.
yeah. Let me
Are,
yeah, let me actually just ask you about that. So like what for you makes it um tragic? I mean, I know that, I know that, there, of course, Ethiopia's history in terms of the 20th century, has you know since the the uh the downfall of the monarchy, in the 1970s, and the arrival of the Derg, you know but is would you say there's more to that than just say what happened in the 20th century, in the late 20th century, that makes it a little more tragic, or
I mean, yeah, with um, the revolution, the imperial revolution, what you
right.
see is, I mean, it's such a classic mimetic scene, right?
Mm-hmm,
Um, you have this this king that
mm-hmm,
is a classic king, you know.
mm-hmm,
Uh, the let them eat cake, uh, you know,
mm-hmm.
uh, phrases. I don't think it's specific to just Mary Antoinette. I mean, not Mary Antoinette. What's her name?
Yeah, no, it
Uh,
was Marie Antoinette.
oh yeah, it was Mary.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
it wasn't just for her, right? Like I would say
mm-hmm.
a lot of kings in a lot of places could understand the plight of their working class people,
Right.
and so there's such a big divide, obviously,
Mm-hmm,
in between the nobility and the working class, and it's obvious. Um, but you had this fervor in the 60s,
mm-hmm,
which was, I think, a global fervor,
mm-hmm,
where you had kind of hungry for blood,
mm-hmm,
uh, and really believing that they could exact this unique change. And I was thinking about this actually. Um, I was, I think it was in the Scapegoat or one of the books, but Gerard was highlighting the story of um, the tenants, right? The
mm-hmm,
tenants, where the owner of the land keeps sending people, and the tenants keep killing them
mm-hmm,
until the landlord sends his son,
mm-hmm,
and then now when the son comes, it's like, hey guys, all right, before we're just killing people, but now it's
mm-hmm,
the son.
mm-hmm,
So the way we kill the son has to be kind of a marker,
mm-hmm,
so that after this we can create something new.
mm-hmm,
Uh, we can create a new world or a new order. Um,
mm-hmm,
this is not like the other murders we're gonna do. This is kind of special.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and it's tragic because um, it happens everywhere, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Uh, and I don't know why it didn't happen in the West.
mm-hmm,
I don't know why it just happened in Ethiopia and a few other countries.
mm-hmm.
Like even Russia, that happened in Russia too, right?
Right.
But it's tragic because you see Ethiopia after that, and it's just a country that doesn't understand what it is.
Mm-hmm,
Um, and you see the effect of revolution, and you see the lie that the enemy told those young kids who were bright
mm-hmm,
kids,
mm-hmm,
um,
mm-hmm.
geniuses, some of them,
Yeah.
who were enamored by this sacrificial, evil um, philosophy,
Right.
up to a point where they would kind of risk their lives and do crazy things,
Right.
um, so that they would bring about this new order
Mm-hmm,
on the bones of uh, a king, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And and it's and what they sacrificed there was an identity. It's be it good or bad. Ethiopia had identity back in before the 60s,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and now you have this cocktail of ideas or ideologies.
mm-hmm,
Um, you have Ethiopia is a unique case because we have over 80 different nations inside one country.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Uh, and the way that you run this super diverse countries through um, some some concept, right? that
Mm-hmm.
brings everybody together, or you have an iron fist, right? You
Right.
make sure everybody is afraid of you, right? The thing that
Mm-hmm.
unites everybody is they're all afraid of you.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, I don't take jihad literally in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
I can debate with a lot of people, like especially libertarians,
Mm-hmm.
about the value of a strong leader.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think a strong leader has a mandate, even a biblical mandate, to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that his people are okay, that his
Yeah.
people are safe, and you know, economically well off, and
Right.
everything. I think a leader has to fight evil, and he
Right.
has to um, make sure that his nation is not crippled by some sick ideology. I
Right.
think that's part of being a leader.
Right.
Um, uh,
Right.
and that also means being cruel
Mm-hmm.
to whoever you need to be cruel for, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's not, especially if it's, it have to be a personal kind of vendetta or a grudge, but it has to be a principled fight
Mm-hmm.
to. So I believe in it. I believe in a dignified and justified war and battle, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of hearing, I I can support that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the case, you see Ethiopia go through stages of um, not knowing what it is,
Right.
and you have a lot of people that came in after that. We've had three governments since Haile Selassie,
Mm-hmm.
and all three, I'd say, I mean, the last one is still yet to be, it's still yet to be seen exactly which way it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, I'm sure a lot of people would say, we already know what's happening here,
Mm-hmm.
but I still want to give some time.
Yeah.
But um, it's just a series of um, struggles and wars and conflicts
Mm-hmm.
and ambiguity in what Ethiopia is and what an Ethiopian is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what you picture when you see Ethiopia's history and the
Yeah.
rich, past, especially with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I said, you need a magnifying glass, but you can see that Christianity has in Ethiopia. Um,
Right.
just, sorry if I'm going on and on, but
No, no, it's that this is good. This is good because that sort of leads me into my next question about regarding um I had spoken with Prince Ermias Saleh Selassie and
I saw that.
yeah, and Prince Osfowosan Asarate, right? And one of the two things that sort of kept coming up for me was this whole idea of like Ethiopia's sort of inability to get away from its sense of I guess how they see themselves ethnically. Their identity is sort of rooted in their in in what tribe or clan they belong to. So it might be well, I'm Habasha, so you know that's what my group is, or even further down, I'm Tigrinya, or I'm Amhara, right? Or from a I guess from an Oromo point of view or Somali point of view, I belong to this clan. You know, I belong to the Darod clan. I belong to the you know uh, so and so clan, right? And so that's what matters more to me than um, the nation, or the well-being of the nation. And then two, um, Prince Oscar Wilson, he talked about how Ethiopia, you know, its constitution, and I don't remember when that this was established, or what time period, but I'm pretty sure it had to be around the 1970s. That the federal constitution was sort of, um, you know centered around what ethnic group you belong to, right? And Ethiopia, even today, has, its states are named or built around what tribe you belong to, right? And so I'm just wondering if that is sort of the if that's something that's embedded, or if that's something that has to remain, or if it's something that people want to sort of perpetuate. You know what I mean? That well, you have to be a part of this group. You know what I mean? And if you're not part of this ethnic group, then you can't live in this area. You can't be, and you're really not you're really not supportive of your tribe, right? Um, so I guess what I'm asking is, in order for Ethiopia to sort of work, in order for Ethiopia to sort of sustain itself, is it going to have to get rid of this idea of federalism and, say, tribalism, you know, or tribal statehood, you know, idea?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question in Ethiopia.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's asking this question, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which way do we go? Uh, in the unitary way or the federalist way?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of it, uh, it's easier if you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of ways, the cat's out of the bag.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the history of Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
you see that um, it's kind of like a country like many countries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have kind of the dominant groups, and you have the inferior groups just in
Mm-hmm.
history.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the formation of Ethiopia as a state had these sometimes very obvious, sometimes in very subversive ways,
Mm-hmm.
dominant group and the submissive group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I guess this is the sorry, this is
No, sorry.
the effect of I will say, is it Satan that kind of whispers in your ear and says, "Hey, your neighbor has, a nicer house,"
Mm-hmm.
or it says, "Hey, remember that your neighbor actually took your land. That
Mm-hmm.
place where your neighbor has expanded and got his pool, that
Mm-hmm.
would be your grandfather's land."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so, how can you be friends with your neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
Because he has he made historic violence against you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, extrapolate this to this national level, where
Mm-hmm.
you have ethnicities in Ethiopia that have grievances, some serious grievances
Mm-hmm.
with their neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the history, it's hard to. I mean, you have to be if you're you can read it in many ways, and I think history gives you a lot of chances to um, read it in an optimistic lens. but it also gives you a lot of room to read it as a serious cynic. And when you read it as a cynic, this country is doomed, right? Because you can't have two enemies living in the same house. It kind of builds up the stage for um, this how shall I say? It's a um, what does Gerard say is the end of the world, where the the left wants to invite every 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 ethnicity, every people around the world, and kind of cram them all in into one place, and then all it takes is just a match to blow everything up,
Right, like a
because
powder keg.
everything is,
Yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't take a lot to kind of trigger, and uh, and if people don't know they're different, then it's fine. If they're ignorant, then it's fine. Of course, there are historic grievances. Ethiopia is a military state, right? And Ethiopia is full of stories like that. It's not just one ethnicity or one tribe that has gotten you know the upper hand in Ethiopian history. Last hand, you know, um, the last, I'd say, 200 years, especially the formation of the current Ethiopian state, saw um, one tribe, I would say the northern tribes, um, spread into all of Ethiopia through the sword, right? Kind of pillaging and conquering all the other tribes, and forming the Ethiopia that we know now. So, and the way they spread, it's very unique. I don't know how long I have, but Ethiopian Ethiopian culture, I'd say, is very similar to um, I'd say the early Roman Christians,
Okay.
who see the barbarians as barbarians. Now, what is a barbarian? It's it's a heathen. It's a non-Christian. It's this. It's a person that is outside that Christian culture, Christian tradition, and it's backward, which I would actually agree. Right? It is backward. Uh, Christianity is it's a step forward for humanity, and the people feel it. They feel superior. They feel like it's yeah, like this is the right way to live. uh they right, that Christian tradition kind of matched in a way, is not just as another piece in the pantheon, but like this thing is more real, guys.
Right.
I think we hit the jackpot over here with Christianity. It really feels like, and so there's like that I think that sense, and so you saw the early Christians observe all the other kind of traditional people, right? Like the Gaul barbarians. Um, wherever they went, they saw them and they said, "Look at these barbarians who don't know Jesus, right? Who are not Christian. They're backward." And it wasn't like a tribal thing. It was just, hey, you got to get your act straight and get baptized. Baptized, because however way you're living, right? It's not just a you're not believing my religion. It's that you're backward. You're falling behind. Come on,
Right.
step over the line. Get baptized, get your act straight. So there's that kind of demeaning, um, kind of, but also a strong cultural force that
Mm-hmm.
goes everywhere where Christianity goes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
goes, a Christian nation spreads um, its borders through the sword, and it
Mm-hmm.
brings its culture. It goes into the traditional, uh, um, villages, and
Mm-hmm.
it says, "Hey, you gotta fix everything.
Right.
Okay, you gotta change your name, you gotta change your religion, you gotta be baptized. No more of
Mm-hmm.
this. Whatever you've been doing before, that's out the
Mm-hmm.
window. No more
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Right.
You have to be Christianized."
Right.
And so the modern, Ethiopian nation
Mm-hmm.
spread across Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
um, and of course spread its borders,
Mm-hmm.
but also it spread its culture. And
Mm-hmm. Okay.
the Christian culture is in Ethiopia is um, it's so um, it comes with a lot of baggage, right? It
Mm-hmm.
comes with, it's not just the Christianity, it's the whole, the thing around it, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
the naming, uh,
Mm-hmm.
names,
Right.
what you name your child. You can never name your child what you used to name before.
Right.
So, uh, so your whole culture is kind of once did reduced to like
It sort of
going to
needs to be, yeah, it needs to be revitalized, or um there needs to
yeah,
be
you
some
get you
kind of
just gotta toss it out. You have to
right.
toss out your culture. It's
Uh-huh.
not kosher.
Yeah.
You gotta toss it out.
Yeah. Right.
So that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's happening a little too close to the modern world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now now you have, in the 60s, you have these young, hip college students who are reading enlightened thinkers. They're reading Jacques Derrida and Foucault, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, wait a minute, okay, there's a lot of violence happened here,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of kind of uncomfortable ways that these guys did. So we should fight.
Mm-hmm.
We should protest, and we should fight,
Mm-hmm.
and and um, of course you have that revolution, not just with the ethnic revolution, but also in the economic way, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's happening all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
This modern mindset is like a parasite, like a
Mm-hmm.
virus. And it's infiltrates these young kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they want a revolution. They want a revolution and want
Mm-hmm.
something new,
Mm-hmm.
um, on the bones of their fathers,
Right.
and they created the state that we're in right now, which is this ambiguity of not knowing what is Ethiopia. Now Ethiopia is tainted, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny how I don't know. Maybe this makes Ethiopia so very Christian, because you really can't you can't choose who's the victim and who's
Mm-hmm.
the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no one can agree on anything anymore. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Not on the flag, not on the on the epic battles of Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
which we have some few epic battles.
Right.
We've never been colonized. It's a very it's I also really I also think it's surface level. A lot of it's surface level,
Mm-hmm.
but if you like dig a little bit inside, you see an Oromo in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and ask him about Ethiopia and it not being colonized, and he says, "Heck yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Mm-hmm.
never been colonized. Let's go."
Right.
Um, same with an Amara or a Tigray.
Right.
But you kind of bring them in the same room together, and then they feel like they have to do the dance, right, where
Right.
they hit each other, and they can't stand each other and they can't together. So,
Right.
um, so,
Right.
but you know,
Yeah.
in the political sphere, like on social media,
Hmm.
out, you can agree, you can agree on anything anymore.
Hmm.
It's it's really stunted, um, you know, any kind of effort to bring everybody together, right?
Right.
Just come
Right.
on. Okay, can we agree that Adwa was great? Adwa was a great battle, right? We
Right.
defeated the Italians,
Right.
and then that's a debate. That
Right.
creates debates, and
Right.
it's
Right.
quite similar to
Right.
it's quite similar to what I think America was going through with the even the Civil War, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
uh, it's like, do we support that? Do we not support that?
Right.
Um, it's
Yeah. Like every
uh,
it seems like
yeah,
everybody kind of when you start getting down to these yeah, I mean, yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that because it's, you know, okay, in the United States, right? Like everybody's down for, the fact that okay, Ethiopia beat the Italians during the Battle of Adwa, right? Like and you said it on a surface level, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually, if you had three different, if you have three Ethiopians and they all come from a different sort of tribal background, they're all gonna they're all gonna unite around the fact that they won that battle. If especially if
yeah,
it's somebody from the outside that doesn't belong to, they're not Ethiopian, right? And so they're gonna unite around that person. They're gonna say we're together on this for the sake of telling that guy, no, actually, we beat the Italians. But when that person's removed, the non-Ethiopian, then they kind of like turn on each other. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
okay,
yeah,
your ethnic group, your tribe, they dominated my tribe. You know what I'm saying? And then, well,
right,
your tribe did this in the during this era, and so yeah, that does make a lot of sense. They tend to be united externally, and then internally they just it's like, yeah, they it's like they start kind of going off on each other. You know what I mean? And yeah, like when you read a lot of the comments and stuff that are made on, say, Reddit or Facebook or something like that, or Twitter, they're just going at it about what's historically true, what's cultural facts. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's and it's, I mean, it's humorous in a way, but it's also not. You know what I mean? Because it's like these quarrels that people are having on social media are actually like deep seated grievances. That they have, that may not even be factual, but that's just, they feel that's the group that, it's like, I have to stand with my group. This is what I was told as a child. This is what I was told happened to us. You know, so I have to stand behind that. Yeah, actually, I understand.
right. It's a tragedy because
Yeah.
Ethiopia has my pastor doing maybe he still is some some paper on how Ethiopia can be the go-to for Africans.
Hmm.
That Christianity is not a Western religion.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
there's a lot of these Pan-African guys in
Hmm.
politics
Hmm.
that hate Christianity. They say,
Hmm.
oh, it's the religion of the colonizer, brought that in here,
Hmm.
and they used it to kind of subdue us,
Hmm.
and kind of took our vitality. It's a Western religion, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
A
Hmm.
lot of African Americans who,
Hmm.
uh, a lot of African Americans who became Muslim.
Hmm.
You have the name Islam,
Hmm.
you have Malcolm X,
Hmm.
and you have that kind of influence
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, Christianity is the white man's religion.
Right.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
that's not true, right?
Right.
And the
Right.
reason that's not true, and the big reason that's not true, is, and great evidence is Ethiopia.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure.
And
Right.
it can play
Right.
such a pivotal role in bringing Black people across the world together,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you know a lot of the world's problems can be solved with
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's this vacillation of man going back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and picking every other option, every option
Right.
except Jesus,
Right.
um, to try to see, hey, let me try it this way, let me try it that way,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
when the only solution is love, right? That divine love.
Yeah. Right.
Uh,
Right.
and um, Ethiopia can play that for a lot of people, and
Mm-hmm.
that's his. And he's doing a paper on that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But uh, if you're giving a sermon,
Mm-hmm.
and if it feels like, ooh, that's getting a little too political in your own congregation, if you
Mm-hmm.
can't get your own congregation to kind of be suspended and have Jesus unite you,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a problem. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
the only solution for Ethiopia, as tragic and as difficult as it is
Mm-hmm.
right now in this country, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't understand the direction that it's going.
Mm-hmm.
I think our predictive models have failed understanding where Ethiopia is going.
Mm-hmm.
The only solution for Ethiopia is Jesus,
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
kind of rejecting that the rivalry that the enemy invites you to get into,
Right.
um, is
Right.
to not rely on revolution.
Right.
Um, and I don't know why I was thinking about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
David uh, didn't revolt,
Mm-hmm.
against King Saul.
Mm-hmm.
He had his knife to his neck.
Mm-hmm.
He killed him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of wisdom there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a sports club. It's
Right.
people's lives.
Right.
I don't know if you watch soccer, but soccer's very. I think it's way closer to the old gladiator fights than I think American football.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I really do think that, because I mean, obviously, first of all, uh, it's a old Roman colony, England,
Mhm. Sure. Yeah.
and a lot of them, right? The whole of
Yeah.
Europe. So,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you've ever seen the comparison between American fans and British fans.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so you have Americans going, go sports, go blue team.
Right.
It's so tame, it's so friendly.
Mhm.
Uh, um,
The
and
tailgating and everything.
right, there's the tailgate.
Yeah.
You got your hot dogs outside, and there's
Right.
friendly banter outside with the other team.
Right.
Um, and then you come to Europe, and you
Mhm.
got these. It's called the ultras. I don't know if you've ever heard of ultras before.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never not in sports, not in soccer. No.
Yeah, bro. So what
Are those
ultras
the
are?
are those the ones that are ready for battle? They're ready to.
Oh yeah, bro. They have their own section in the stadium.
Right.
and a little crowd that they hang out before they win. And
Mhm.
these guys are crazy, right? They're like violent. They're
Right.
like really racist,
Yeah.
especially the ones. You got like that football hooligan culture in England in the 80s.
Mhm.
But you still have it today. You go to Italy, you go to
Mhm.
Spain, you go to, Eastern European countries.
Mhm.
You got this ultra community like that culture, right?
Mhm.
And that comparison, you got American chants like at stadium, which is like, oh, let's go team, let's
Mhm.
go, like, you
Mhm.
got that baseball um, um, tunes and stuff, and it's very friendly, and you get, like the organ playing like this little catchy tune and stuff, and you come to England
Mhm.
and you have like these obscene chants, right? Like
Mhm.
obscene chants,
Mhm.
uh, where uh, where you have football fans, mocking someone's um, like wife,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
calling them like awful, and everybody's in on it, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Uh, and you have like insults. You got like horrible, horrible chants, right? That you
Right.
would never see in the United States.
Right.
Um, and in that culture,
Mhm.
you also have like this propensity to pick a scapegoat,
Mhm.
uh, and that scapegoat really gets it right.
Mhm.
They get it in the press, they
Mhm.
get it from the fans,
Mhm.
and that scapegoat, could be a player,
Mhm.
but in many cases, they're managers.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and it's get this manager out of here. He doesn't know what he's doing. Blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. They stalk his house.
Mhm.
Um, they, I mean, it gets wild.
Yeah.
Um,
That sounds a little out of pocket.
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like a religious fervor. This um, the football scene in Europe,
Mm.
sometimes it's the same. It's the same. I think passion that
Mhm.
catches people in politics,
Yes. Right.
where you have your teams, and
Mhm.
uh, like your leader,
Mhm.
you can't wait till he dies, right?
Mhm.
It becomes so passionate
Mhm.
that regular people are so obsessed, and you lose them, right? And
Mhm.
you lose them to such violent thoughts.
Mhm.
And they can't wait to let this person go.
Mhm.
They're ready to join the mob.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know what the answer to all of that is,
Mhm.
but I know that in Ethiopia, I think we should really repent
Mhm.
on this desire to murder our king.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, every time there's something bad,
Yeah.
or like, and instead find forgiveness and
Right.
maybe take a step back from all the politics, um,
Yes. Yeah.
and fight in other ways, right? Fight in principled ways. Be like
Right.
David, and
Right.
in the end of the day, it's God that dictates the future of this world,
Right.
and uh, and He's the one who anoints kings,
Right.
and it's best to fight a principled fight than
Mhm.
go into the woods and be thirsty for blood, and
Right.
it's a big lesson that Ethiopia has to learn, because I think it's tough. It's tough to not to kind of give away the appetite that I think um, you've kind of built up.
Mhm.
Um, but I think a lot of people in Ethiopia should take a step back from politics,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
there's this corrupting, this feeling that can take over you, and
Right.
it's the devil. It's
Right.
um, and it can really really cloud your vision.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Mhm.
and before you know it, you have good people in the mob
Mhm.
ready to do some really horrible things.
Right.
And I don't think our future, our destiny is going to come from revolution.
Right.
Uh, I think
Right.
there's a lot of grace waiting for us, but
Mhm.
that grace has to come from Jesus and from
Mhm.
forgiveness.
Mhm.
Um, you
Mhm.
have to love your enemy, and
Yeah.
it's brutal to not to let go when the other guy has it let go.
Mhm.
Uh, but
Mhm.
you have to be the change.
Yeah.
Um, if
Yeah.
we don't observe that, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you were the earliest Christian nation. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
because you couldn't save yourself in the end,
Right.
and you
Right.
let yourself go to what the devil wants and what the devil desires for you.
Mhm.
So we're we're in a very interesting time in
Yeah.
Ethiopia.
Yeah. Well, hey, brother, I want to thank you, man, for joining me today. I really, got a lot out of that, and we can, both pray for, all the best in Ethiopia. It's a great nation. Um, and I think it has a lot of, you know, going for itself. You know what I'm saying? So we pray that it goes in the right direction. Everything will, you know, turn out for the best. You know what I mean? And as you said, I believe, it's like yeah, Ethiopia has to go forward this time with love. You know what I mean? And that's the main goal. So I uh I hope you get well soon, man, and you know, and maybe we'll the next time we talk, we'll flip it around and I'll I'll join you at nighttime and you could join me in the morning. All right. Sound good?
For sure, Shan.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me again, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, good to talk to you, man.
You too, brother. All right.
All right.
Have a good night, man.
You too. You have a good day.
I will. Thank you.